Hey everybody, welcome. It's week 4 in ENC2210, and we're gonna take our normal stroll through the course. Um, try to answer any questions that you might have in advance, but of course, reminding you that I am available. If you need some extra help this week, don't forget to reach out. All right, I can't find my buttons. There we go. All right, so this week we are going to start, of course, as usual, with the syllabus, just to kind of orient ourselves and know where we're going. Last week, you guys read about and wrote about social media, ethical and legal obligations, and writing collaboratively. And your 2 assignments were the social media strategies discussion, which I was reading, throughout the entire week. And really great things going on over there. Some of you I have not seen yet, if you posted on the last day, but which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have not had a chance to look at yours yet. I will. And of course, you'll be getting feedback on both of those assignments this week at some point, including the experience inventory. One of the things I want to mention about the experience inventory, I did post a link to a story that just popped up on one of my things that I follow this week about what to put and not to put on your resume. And we are not going to do that assignment until towards the end, but the experience inventory is kind of helping you prepare for that. So I thought it was an interesting week. And I went ahead and posted that. One of the things that I'm fascinated by is that over the years, the expectations change for things like resumes and cover letters. You also have differences within different fields. For example, one of the things that I always find interesting is that in real estate, everybody puts their picture on everything. But typically, you would not put a picture on a resume, things of that nature. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the rules that some of the older generation thinks of, myself included, are outdated. And of course, a lot of times we're not even really using a traditional resume in the sense of printing it out and turning it in. A lot of people have their resumes built within a framework like in LinkedIn, and then they use that. Or you'll have many employers, even if you are uploading your resume, they also ask you to fill out a job application, which essentially has you repeat everything that's in your resume, which can be a little frustrating. But so anyway, we'll talk about that a lot more when the time comes. But I thought it was interesting that it popped up in one of my feeds this week as you guys were working on your experience inventories, which is kind of what that is, getting you ready for. So this week, and a lot of you, I like this week, and a lot of you said that you were especially interested in this week because it is true that sometimes we still have to write an old-fashioned letter, a business letter, and we want it to look professional. We want to do it right. We want to make sure that our concerns or our thoughts are not dismissed simply because we haven't presented it in a standard format. So we're mostly focusing on letters. We're also going to talk a little bit about memos, even though I think memos are one of those things that is truly outdated. I can't imagine a workplace where people still pass around a printed piece of paper with a memo on it. But we do send memos by email. We use tools. I know at my new job, my new full-time job, we use Microsoft Teams a lot, and not just for meetings, but we keep an open running chat so that if people have questions, they can get help from people at other job sites. It's really kind of an interesting thing to see how, excuse me, inter-office communications change over time. But it's still important to know, what does it mean to say, hey, send a memo? Because your boss might say that. Now, granted, they probably mean by email now, but still knowing what those things are is very important. And business letters, you cannot go wrong with the ability to write a good business letter. I mean, it's just really important. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the module, but know that that's where we are. And then next week, we're going to be focusing on the electronic side of those things. So that's what's coming up. And then the following week, in week 6, we're going to really dig into the technical writing stuff. So that's where we are, just kind of overall in the semester, just so you are oriented in the same way that I am oriented. And I will get out of this and turn on the student view so it looks right to you. I wish they would do something with I don't mind the concourse syllabus add-on. I think it's really cool, but it drives me a little bit crazy that it does not have the ability for me to keep it in student view. Just, I don't know. It just kind of drives me nuts. So many things too. All right, so business writing and old school communication. Let's take a look at our learning materials first. Of course, here is the link to the book. And in this particular section, notice chapter 4 is almost the whole book. So from here on out, you do want to pay special attention to the page numbers because it's going to guide you to what you need to write, need to read. We have some other materials. There's a web page that I found that has a really cool list of the types of business letters. I thought it was really interesting to look at. There's an article from Indeed on business writing. And then of course we have some helpful videos, one video about business memos and what that really is. And then here is my plug. It's kind of what I already was talking about, but staying current is on you, especially once you get out of school, because when we're no longer taking classes, it's really easy to lag behind it. And nobody wants to be that person in your workspace that is like, oh, that's just Sally. She does things like the 1920s and she's never going to change. So there's a lot of really good resources. I am heavily reliant on Indeed. I think Indeed right now for business communication, Indeed is really where it's at. Grammarly also has a lot of good articles. And of course, most writing labs at colleges and universities stay up to date on things like what's the latest in resume styles or that sort of stuff. When you graduate from Lake Sumter, and then later if you transfer and you graduate from a university, there's always a career services department. And you have access to that as a graduate of the college or university forever. So if you find yourself in 5 or 10 years deciding you want to change careers, make use of those tools, make use of those people, because that is a really good way to make sure that you are getting updated information as well. So take a look at my little infographics, kind of fun, and then it'll be time to go earn the points. Let's go over the assignments, and then I will talk a little bit about how to set up a business letter in Microsoft Word. So let's go back to the module. Your only assignment this week is the draft of the letters and memos. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the word draft. I want you to turn in a polished piece of writing. The only reason this is marked as a draft is that you will use the feedback that you get from it, and you will put the information from this assignment in your portfolio that's due at the end of the semester. So you're not going to turn around and redo it right this second and get more points. This is the assignment for this week. So let's take a look at it. And I don't want to read it to you, but I do want to go over a few things about it. In terms of format, these are business letters, but it is also a school assignment. So you are going to use the APA style. You're going to have a cover page. You don't have to have a table of contents, but if you want to, you can. We talked a little bit about that last week in terms of the use of headings. will help you to create those kinds of things. But with this one, it can just be, here's the letters and the memo. Each one should be on a separate page. And most of the time, unless there's some really important reason to, you should not have a business letter or a memo that's more than one page. Within the letters, you are going to single space the paragraphs, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So you're going to research and review and use standard memorandum and business letter formats. You need to use appropriate font sizes, email addresses, and use of space. Don't make a letter that takes up every blank space on a page, but also don't make a letter that has like one tiny little, sentence and then the rest of the page is blank. Now, here's where you get to be a little bit creative, but you can also look at this as a chance to do something real. I'll explain what I mean by that. So in the memo, think of an idea that you would like to see implemented, if I could talk this morning, at your job or at LSSC if you are not currently working. So it could be something like a way to increase productivity, improve service, increase business, or improve working conditions. You're then going to write a memorandum, requesting action and persuading your audience that your idea is worthwhile. Address the memo to an appropriate audience within your job or the school. Part of the trick with this assignment is to choose wisely when it comes to an issue that you might have. So I'm going to give you an example. If I were a student at Lake Sumter State College and I wanted to have better lighting in the parking lot, because I take night classes, I am not going to address that memo to the president of Lake Sumter State College. I am going to do some digging and I'm going to see who would be the right person to send that to. Who's really in charge of parking lots? Who's in charge of lighting? And so you have to do a little bit of digging. If I were going to write a memo to somebody at my job because I want to say, hey, can we wear jeans on Friday, or whatever the case may be, I'm not going to address that to the CEO of a major corporation. I'm going to address that to whoever's managing my immediate work area. Okay, does that make sense? So the same thing happens with the letters. You are going to do a little bit of research and find out who should you be addressing this to. What person is the most appropriate person to write this to? Okay, so then you'll have one memo and then you'll have three letters. First is the inquiry letter. Write an unsolicited letter of inquiry to a business you might want to work for or use. It could also be a charity that you might want to work with or donate to, or an educational institution you might want to attend. In your letter, you might request brochures, pamphlets, or other informative literature, or you might ask specific questions. Remember, with all these letters, you do not have to mail these letters, but since I'm wanting you to pick something real that you're really interested in, feel free to do it. Feel free to use this as a real letter. The second letter, this one's going to be fun for me because I want to see what you come up with. In the response letter, you're really writing two letters for the response letter. One is a complaint letter to someone or some business. It can be real, it could be imaginary. Now, once you've written the complaint, and make that address to your own attention because you are also the representative of this business that you're going to respond to. You'll write a response as if you were the recipient or an agent of the recipient. So in other words, you're doing both. You're writing the angry letter and you're writing the professional, the professional response. Feel free to have some fun making the complaint letter not professional, although I prefer that it's not like also full of expletives, but use all standard professionalism in your response letter. Okay, so the angry letter doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to have the heading and all that. You can be as you want to be. Finally, the claim letter. So right now we're at 1 page for the memo, 1 page for the inquiry letter, 1 page for the anger letter, and 1 page for the response letter. Finally, you're going to have the claim letter. So you should have a total of 6 pages with your cover page. You probably don't need a references page, but if there was anything that you looked up that you want to share where you got your information, you can feel free to put one on there. So the final letter is a claim letter. Write a claim letter to an appropriate school official at Lake Sumter or your high school if you're dual enrolled, a local government official, or a local law enforcement official about an issue affecting your school or your community. You should identify a problem, offer your input, and then ask for some sort of action on this part. Say on their part. Same thing. You do not have to mail this letter, but if it's a real issue and you really would like to, you're encouraged to send it. I do not want you writing to Joe Biden about gas prices. I want this to be something that is very specific to your community, whether it's your town, could even be your neighborhood. If you live in a neighborhood that has a homeowners association, for example, you could do it something that localized. But it could be local government, it could be a local law enforcement, it could also be the school or any school that you are involved with. If you're a parent and you have children in school, it could be even an issue at your kid's school. It doesn't have to be yours specifically, but I want this to be a real thing. So this is another one where you could use the parking lot example, or I want the library to be open 24 hours a day. You could use that same kind of thing for the claim letter as well. But the memo should look like a memo and the claim letter should look like a claim letter. Okay, so you could use the same topic, but be careful about just doing the same thing over again. This is a 50-point assignment. So we've been used to 25-point assignments. So right away, that should make you think, oh, I need to take this a little bit more seriously. And like I said, you're not going to get a new score out of 50 for this. It is a draft, but only in the sense that I am going to give you feedback on it and you're going to have a chance to revise it, but only for the portfolio. So this assignment, once you turn it in and it's graded, this 50 points will stay, whatever you get on it. So keep that in mind as you're doing it. So one final thing I want to show you, and that is how to set up the document, because I think it might be a little confusing with the APA cover page and and letters. So let me share that as well. Okay, so you should be able now to see Microsoft Word. Like I said, we are going to do it in APA format, so you will have a cover page, and I was going to say you will have the page numbers. So let's put them in. Let's put them in. All right, so we need, oops, except I'm in the wrong spot. I got to get myself out of the way. There we go. All right, so we're going to insert page numbers. And oh, I'm always moving myself to the wrong spot. I'm going to put myself way down here in the corner. Maybe that'll help. All right, so we want a page number, and we want it at the top of the page and on the right. And that's it. That's all we need in the header. I'm just going to keep my default font, but remember, if you change fonts in the document, you should also change fonts in the header. We want to center the cover page information, and it is double spaced with no extra spaces in between. So let me, okay, it's fixed. All right. And we want it to kind of be in the middle of the page. The title gets bolded, letters and memos are us. There's my brilliant title. Okay, non-bold. And then we need the APA cover page information. Let me look it up real quick. I always have to check too, because I do not off the top of my head remember. Make sure I get a new one. Okay, so we have your name, student's name, Sally P. Student. We have the department, and you can use your department that you like if you are an AA or whatever. But I would use English because we are taking an English class. So, and then we're at Lake Sumter State College. We need the class. We need me. We need the date. Let's use today's date. It's 12/2022. Okay. So then we're ready to start the letters, and we want to insert a page break in between each. Get in the habit of actually inserting a page break. I promise you it will make your life a lot better. So the memo would go here, and I'm not going to give too much away about memo format, but you'll look it up. I will say that it will have in the center, it will have memorandum. And then on the regular margin, you'll have to, you'll have from, you'll have, I think the date goes next, and then the subject. I don't know, but you'll be doing some research. Now, this is where you can single space. So when I am writing business letters and memorandums, I do not want to take up that much room. So once you get to the document itself, to the letter itself, you can switch to single space. And typically, when we are using business letter format or memo format, when we hit the new paragraph, we actually double space in between instead of using the indent. Okay, so there we go. There's my memo, brilliant memo. And then the next page, again, we're going to do the, we're going to do the insert a page break. Will be the first of the formal letters. Now, formal letters wouldn't normally have a page number at the top. We're just going to, it's fine. We're going to put it on the page just as it is. So we need to center our name and address. Now, typically you want to do something to make the name stand out. I'll show you a couple of options. I'm still in single space, which is important because I'm going to use single space for the rest of the document. Sally P. Student, 123 Elm. She is in Leesburg, Florida, and her zip code is 34788. She's got a phone number. And she's going to include her email address. You typically want to undo the link, although it's fine. I don't really care that much, but typically you do not want to have links in here. And then this is going to be, let's bold it and make it 14. Okay, so it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can also use a much smaller font for the address and stuff like that. You can get creative with how you do this, but I'm just going to leave it fairly plain. In a business letter, we will then have the, we have to have the address, the full address of where this is being sent. This is why sometimes it's hard to write business letters, especially because a lot of times we're really not going to mail it. We're going to send it by email, but it's a good idea to use a real address. It just makes everything look so much more professional. But first we need the date. So let's put September. And then we need the address. So let's say this one would be the inquiry letter. So let's say I want to go to Harvard. Why not? And I would need to do a little bit of research. Who would I be writing this to? It would probably be like, there's probably an office that would handle student inquiries. So let's put, this is not, I am not doing the real research for this. You should. Office of New Students, and let's say this is at 123 Harvard Yard, Harvard Street. It's Monday morning. It's not Harvard. Good grief. Baskin. I don't know the zip codes. We're just gonna make it up. Okay. Here's where it gets tricky. You really want to address all of your letters to a human being. Now, that's not always possible, and especially in an inquiry, I think it's probably okay to leave it as sir or madam. So we'll put dear sir or madam, and all business letters have a colon there. Always, 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 not a comma. It's one of the most common errors. And then we're going to write our letter. Please tell me about your school and how fabulous I would be if I went to your school. Same principle, double space in between, but single space, the document. Oops. Oh my goodness, can't hit enter today. Ugh. Okay, so this is the end of my letter. Double space. We want it to end with sincerely, and we want to leave space, and then we are going to type out our name. Oops, I'm not Jackie Pierce today. Student. In the real world, we would print it out and then we would sign in between those spaces. So you can leave extra space there for your signature. You can also make that a little smaller if needed to make sure that it fits on the one page. Okay. So this is the basic setup that you need. Now you're going to need more letters, and I would use the exact same, I would repeat that on the next pages. You're going to use the exact same setup there. I am going to do something nice, and I am going to save this, and I am going to send it to you. I'm going to put it in the announcement with the video. So those of you who are being careful and checking your videos, watching your videos and checking the announcements are going to know that you don't have to worry too much about how to set this document up. And the people who are not watching the video and not looking at the announcements are going to be sad, and they're not going to have this benefit. We're going to call this template for letters. Not Momo. That would be a whole different, a whole different situation. So if you are watching this, you now know that you get a benefit that nobody else does. Yay. I really, really want people to watch these videos because I do spend a lot of time making them, and I promise I'm really trying to get you some extra help with these assignments. So once you have finished that assignment, you will turn it in as you always do. Start assignment, click on the document that you are going to send me. Come on. You're going to upload the file, and you are going to click submit. Ta-da! So that is your only assignment that's due this week, but please do treat it like it's not a draft. Treat it like that word doesn't even exist. Treat it like this is going to be graded, like evil graded, okay? Because that's what you really want to do with all of these assignments that are marked as draft. You are going to have a chance to redo them, but not for this grade, okay? So make them as good as you possibly can. If you've got any questions, please reach out. I am here. And I will talk to you guys next Monday if I don't in between. Take care, everybody.